When I shot these 4 images to stitch together in Lightroom, I didn't balance it. So one of the images is darker than the rest. I need to balance that out as best I can. Should have shot it right in the first place, but I need to balance that out as best I can to stitch these. Here's how we do it. Select the image that you want to balance. Go over here into the reference view and active. So that R is reference, A is active. So this is the active view. This is the one I'll be editing. I'm then just going to drag that image here, which is the next one to it, and drop it in there so I can see this. Now, this is a visual edit in this case because I can't apply the same settings to it. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to just bring it up to what I think is similar. A slight bit of contrast to bring the blue back, maybe a bit there. The shadows is maybe a bit too bright. So you get the idea. Balance it out as best you can. I'll not touch texture or vibrance or anything. So it will be slightly different. I need to lift that slightly. Let's lift the whites just a tiny bit. And I'm going to lift the exposure just a tiny bit. It's about, just roughly about there. So that's us now done that. Go back to the full view. Now, I want to stitch 1, 2, you can see it's still darker and the blues are different, but I want to stitch the 4 of these together. If I was to take that image there and apply the settings to the rest, they would be too much out, so they wouldn't work. So I'm just going to show you it this way just now. Just shoot it correctly, and it saves any of this hassle. Select the first image, hold down Shift, select the second, the third, the one we've just edited, and the 4th, and you can already see the skies are different there anyway. Right click, photo merge, and we're going to take Panorama, not an HDR Panorama, just a Panorama. Click that, let Lightroom do its work, and we get a stitch like that. Now, that is set to spherical right now. We can go to cylindrical, which it doesn't look good. Perspective, which looks terrible, but it's probably one of the best. So I'm going to go back to spherical. And I can now choose fill edges or boundary warp. If I pull that across, it will do that to the image. And there we get a stitch. And this is what I was talking about when we were shooting this. Be aware of the angles that you are shooting the buildings at, or you'll get this effect, unless it's the effect you want. Then click merge. Okay, so that causes a lot of problems if you don't shoot it correctly and you see the spherical aspect of this. What I would do then is I would open it up in Photoshop and then try and correct it. And this is how I would try and correct it. Now, this may be unsuccessful, but let's see. Select a layer, press Ctrl and J. We now have a copy of that layer. Now, we need to create levels and horizontals in this so that it no longer converges. So open up the rulers, and to do that, it's just Ctrl and R, or if you're on a Mac, Command and R, and you have the rulers. Now, what I do before I even set the rulers is I go Control and T, which is free transform. I'm going to zoom out slightly as well so that you can see this. If I drag any of those corners, it drags it up to whatever aspect ratio, or whatever size I want it to be. But that's all it does. For me to adjust it in any way at all, I have to hold down Shift, and then it stretches it and everything like that. I also have control of the corner points. And this is how I'm going to try and correct this. I'm going to bring in a level, a horizontal, a vertical level, and I'm going to put it there, and I'm going to move the building over towards it slightly. And you can see, just to zoom in, it's as near as damn it, but you can still see it's got converging verticals. So I would need one over here. So I'm going to drag it across there, just to do that. Right, this may not work, but it will show you a technique for creating or fixing any other images. If I hold down, you notice my mouse at the top left-hand corner here goes to rotate, it then goes white, and then goes black when it's in the inside. So if I hold it down with white, and I am also holding down Control, I can pull this in any direction I want. It's pinned by the other three. So I can take this to a point where I think it's straight there, and I'm just going to leave it. I'm then going to go up here, and I'm going to drag that there. I'm going to do the same with this one, and I'm going to try and straighten that up. Yep, it's working so far, but you still see we have a bevel here. This is where the problem comes in, because if I do that, all I'm doing is crushing the image. So I need to try my hardest to bring that down. And at the moment, I can tell you it is not going to do it. So if you get to this stage, there is basically nothing I can do here now without creating masks, chopping up the building and pasting it all back together to get this. So if you get to this point, give up. That's plain and simple, and go back and reshoot your image. And just in case you're thinking, no, I can use the warp tool here. Watch. Begin to edit, transform, and warp. And I can bring in any parts of this at all. I can go in up here, I can go and split the grid. I can put another warp vertical or a warp horizontal. I'm just going to split the grid just to show you. I won't waste your time. And I'm going to pin it on there. So you can see that it's split the grid. This is brilliant for material, by the way. It is absolutely phenomenal for material if you want to change the flow of material. And I grab that point and I bring that down to about there. And then I split the grid again on that point. And I drag that down to about there. Now you may think, oh, just put one in there and drag it down. But as soon as you've started this, you then start to see warps going through the entire building. So this is actually eating into your time for editing. So don't use the warp tool if you think it's going to solve the problem.